Hi, I'm Jacob Suggs, and welcome back to another episode of Totally Worth Watching. And if you don't know what Totally Worth Watching is, it's basically the show where I give you a few reasons as to why a movie or television show or really whatever is well worth your time. And typically this goes for more underrated films, so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, and I've got some special movies for you guys today. Today I'm going to be talking about movies that typically the critics hate. But frankly, I'm going to say it, I feel like the critics aren't smart enough to understand this movie. I just think that there's so much depth and substance and symbolism in these movies that people are overlooking and just not seeing. I'm of course talking about the cinematic masterpieces and legends known as the Paul Blart Duology. Now, comedy films have a bad rap these days. There's not many comedy films that get critical acclaim, and unfortunately this is a sufferer of that. But like I've said, critics are stupid and just don't understand these movies, and I've just gotta say, Paul Blart, the Duology, shows how to do proper comedy. These movies are so much more about just a fat man falling down or riding a Segway. It's about a man defending his rights and saving the people he loves and the place that he loves. His mall. And after horrific films like Big Mama's House, we really needed the funny fat person side of cinema to come out again. I'm laughing because this movie, it knows how to make the funny fat person trope work. And it's just done so well. I've got to say though that my favorite part in the Duology, but mainly in the first film, my favorite part in those films is when Paul Blart falls down. See, the jokes in these movies, they don't even need setup. They just need to happen, and they're funny when they happen. That's how comedy needs to be. Comedy needs to be spontaneous, like my snaps. But let's be honest, the reason why we go see these movies isn't for the funny fat person, isn't for the comedy. It's for the action, obviously. And the action in the Paul Blart Duology is really, really well shot. The first film is obviously good, but I think that the much, much better sequel does it very, very well as well. If you would have told me that I would have been captivated by a Segway chase scene in a mall, I would have laughed at you. But not after watching Paul Blart. And I just want to mention that the Segway chase scene is symbolic and an homage to the chariot race in the original Ben-Hur film. And I think that it's really cool to see a comedic film pay tribute to such a great piece of classic cinema. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, most comedies are just surface level, but there's so much more to Paul Blart when you look at it under the surface. And I think there's a very important family aspect as well between Paul Blart and his daughter, and he's trying to connect with her all while being a mall cop. It's so good. Now, the movie comes off as body shaming towards overweight people, and unfortunately I understand how you could see that, but I don't see it that way, and here's why. This whole movie is about body acceptance, not body shaming. See, Paul Blart is ashamed of his outward appearance the whole movie, but at the end of the film, he comes to recognize that it's really what matters on the inside, and other people come to recognize that too, which is why he marries that really, hot chick at the end of the first movie. So the film isn't about shaming, it's about acceptance, and that's what I'm talking about. It's 2017. Paul Blart was ahead of its time. And I think in years to come, Paul Blart will be known as a classic piece of cinema, and it'll just be remembered very fondly and very well for these messages that it's provided to us. Now, the movie's all about caring and having a big, slightly cholesterol-enlarged heart, but like I said, there's so much more to it than just funny fat man falls down. I mean, critics just don't get these movies. And the sequel just went above and beyond my expectations, which I've seen the sequel a total of 27 times. And of course, I've seen the classic Paul Blart film 112 times, so I've studied this film quite extensively. And sequels definitely need to be bigger and better and need to up the ante a little bit. And how do you do that? You change the location. No longer is Paul Blart at the mall, he's on vacation at a hotel. And I mean, that's basically sequel material. I mean, all good sequels go to a tropical place or a hotel. That's just how it happens. And I'm gonna be honest, I have much more respect for the mall cops at my local mall and what they do after watching this movie. This movie absolutely inspired me, and screw being a film director, my dream is to be a mall cop. I'm not joking. I'm done with film. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in the second film, whenever he has the angel wings on his back, yeah, that's also biblical symbolism, as Paul Blart is rising up to be the hero that he needs to become once again. These movies just keep getting better and better. So what do you guys think of Paul Blart Mall Cop and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2? Do you love it or do you love it? I also want to mention that this is the first part of my 12-part extensive series of research and analysis behind these films. So stay tuned for the next 11 parts that are probably going to be over an hour since I've done so much research on this movie. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be sure to see you in the next Paul Blart Mall Cop analysis.